Hi, everyone. This is the 11th TSC meeting for the Baseline Protocol Committee. And it's good to see everyone. We have about 28 guests. Nick, could you do me a favor as we get the guest list? It would be great to, or participant list. I'd like to put those in the minutes. So if I'm running the meeting, it'll be harder for me to do that. Thanks for coming, everybody. I see Kyle there. I see Kirk. I see Stephen, York, and some newcomers. So we'll start right off with the agenda, which is here. So we'll go. Everybody should know that we have the agenda. The agendas are in the Ethereum Oasis Baseline repo. If you have ZenHub, it's particularly easy to find. You just go into ZenHub and you get onto the board. You click over here and you click on the TSC and SSC regular meeting agenda. The past meetings are here and the current one is here. And we are now on SSC July 20th. So we'll open up the minutes. I'll also open another screen so we can do the other.
Where did July go? Ooh.
Yeah, right? I know what you mean. And open up another screen for our previous meeting. So July 6th. Right, so we're gonna welcome some new attendees, request additions, modifications to the agenda. We're gonna review minutes, actions, and this is our pretty standard format. I see that we have several requests for additions, technical drawing revisions. We have Rodolphus, who has a project that he'd like us to take a look at. We have Sambacha, who would like to add an epic, to the same vein as the current EDI. Yep, so we'll talk about all these additional things. And if you've added an item here, please be ready to discuss it. As you all know, the primary reason for this meeting is to look forward, whereas the TSC meetings are effectively to review what has been accomplished. So this is our roadmap meeting. The goal is to make sure that lots of people, and a lot of people do watch this video, a lot of people know that there are things that they can chip in on and work on. So with that, we'll review the previous minutes. Beforehand, let's ask for any new attendees or guests, anybody that'd like to announce themselves. And bear in mind, everyone, that announcing yourself or being on this call is not an assumed, does not assume anyone that that you're representing your company or the intentions of your firm with regard to Baseline. So I always like to put that up front as a disclosure, disclaimer, in case somebody wants to infer that your presence here means that your company is somehow doing something that you may not be comfortable talking about. So with that, is there anyone here that would like to say hello? Hi, Rodolphus. Rodolphus is from the Netherlands, and would you like to say just a couple words there?
Hello, greetings. I'm Rodolphus de Smale, and for 53 years. My English is not so good in speaking, but writing. I'm busy with a project of baselining Autodesk software. So it's like AutoCAD, Revit, Fusion 360, and then on the data management side. Much is still done with hand, but it can maybe be automatic to be automatic.
I was so excited seeing your new addition to the repo, Rodolphus. So welcome. Anybody else? Stephen?
Hi everyone. I'm Stephen Smith. I've reached out to the community recently, and yeah, coincidentally, I think I'm interested in the same epic that Rodolphus posted. So my background's in the construction industry, and I see enormous opportunities for Baseline in construction because it's a multidiscipline, highly complex work environment where we have a lot of big companies that have different systems that we struggle to integrate. Yeah, I was looking for a way to get involved, either from a sort of traditional, how do we use Baseline to connect between, say, ERP systems. But when Rodolphus posted his Epic, he got me thinking about how, yeah, we could use it to help to baseline between drawings or data models of design that happens within construction, because that's also a huge challenge in the industry, as we tend to get out of sync between what's the current design, and we go and build the wrong thing on site, right? Which we have to rework, and it causes enormous cost implications. So yeah, happy to be here, and I'm looking to try and get involved however I can.
That's fantastic, Steve. And it really is a feeling of momentum when we see more and more projects like this start to not only, we know a lot of them are going on in the background, but when they pop up and actually get on the roadmap, it's pretty cool. I see some friends from, let's see, we've got Fernando Ribeiro.
Hi, John.
Hey, Fernando.
Hi.
Would you like to say a few words, or I think this is your first time, right?
No, I would just like to say that I'm glad to reconnect. Very glad.
Nice to see. Are you down in Brazil right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Lou and folks, would you like to say a few words? Say hello.
Hey, John. Yeah, so this is Lou Piscopo here from Google. Excited to work with the team over here, specifically around the baseline initiatives. Helping to bridge the gap here a little bit between Google and the baseline initiative. So been excited working so far with Nick Kritikos, John Wolpert, Stephen Garcia, and the rest of the folks over there. So
very cool.
Excited to be here.
I don't think this is too much to say that Google is one of several firms now that has done an internal event on Baseline. Is that okay for me to mention? And
yep.
Hundreds of people have been showing up to these in a variety of companies, not just Google. But Google was the first one that did that, and it was pretty exciting to see so many people, so many developers. All right.
Hi, John, everyone. This is Ryan Krebs, also from the Google team. I work with Lou, and we've been working with you all as well. So happy to hop on here. Thank you.
Good to see you, Ryan. All right. Anyone else?
I can say a quick hello. Hi, my name is Eric. I'm the president of the Canadian Blockchain Supply Chain Association. So that pretty much says it all. A, I'm in Canada. 2, I'm a supply chain guy. And 3, recently created association to kind of wrangle up the folks from the supply chain world who are interested in blockchain in general. We had John on one of our webinars lately, so thank you very much for including me on this call, and looking forward to finding out more.
Fantastic. All right.
Hey, John, I'd just like to say hi. This is David from Vitro. It's first time on the SSC meeting. I'm the founder of Vitro, and Vitro authenticates rates and flows from meters, tanks, that sort of thing, as authenticated, trusted data in transactions. So interested in working with Baseline to build public and private solutions regarding those types of metering applications.
Energy sector quite a bit, right, David?
Correct.
Right on. Very cool. Okay. With that, we'll move on to our next agenda item, which is to review the minutes from last week, or from the July 6th. And it was a pretty good meeting. We reviewed Duke University's offer to have companies work with their graduate school of financial engineering students. Jimmy Lentz, who's on this call, made that call. And I think, Jimmy, you got at least 3 or 4 notable companies that jumped on that offer of participation. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Have a couple of follow-up, ongoing, I don't even say follow-up, ongoing conversations going on. I would make one small correction, not financial engineering, financial technology. We are much bigger than financial engineering. We're in the engineering school, but it's financial technology. So it's a fairly broad spectrum that we're covering. But yes, I've had several companies. I am open to talking to others about this. And yeah, I was overwhelmed with the response. I appreciate it and thank everybody.
You know, an old friend from sorry to mention another school there, Jimmy, but my alma mater, Berkeley, used to say the world runs on postgrads or postdocs, right? So interns and postdocs make the world go around. And so
something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so you've got a good supply of them, folks. Please, Jimmy and team are some of the best people to work with. Feel free to approach Jimmy offline on that. So moving on, we discussed academic articles such as ZXC and 2018 962 ZXC.pdf is, anyway, that's in the link is there in the repo. Quite an interesting article, and it turns out that Ernst & Young and other members of our zero knowledge teams are already well around that work, which was exciting. Kyle Thomas presented details about the upcoming protocol update in core. We will discuss that in more depth today. Business opportunities and baseline were discussed. Jonathan from Hasera was on last week providing and is quite interested in a number of projects. So if you want really a top team that understands blockchain across the board, including a lot of Hyperledger and other systems, they're a great company and team to work with. Reach out to Jonathan. I think he's on the Slack now. If you can't find him, contact me. I'll get you in touch. Any comments so far? Any amendments? Okay, one other thing was that Jonathan and Adeline and folks from Chainlink not only updated us last week on Oracle's project number 89 in the repo, but then came on the Baseline show on Wednesdays, which, as many of you know, is sort of our weekly office hours show, which is live streamed. And I think last I checked was 1,000 people showed up to that show to view it and make comments. And that was pretty astounding. For the Google team on the call today, their intention, if you look in that project 89, is to work with BigQuery or to utilize BigQuery in a project, a demo. So that's exciting. I think invoice tokenized demos, sponsorships. Yep. There are several companies have actually stepped up and done sponsorships with Oasis, by the way. And that's quite exciting. Those will be announced in August. Any additions, modifications, or deletions to the minutes? We usually do this by loose consensus. That means anybody can dissent now. If not, we will approve. Okay. So approved. Excuse me. So now we're back to our minutes. We've done that. We did have a TSC meeting, the Technical Steering Committee meeting last week on Thursday, as we always do on Thursdays at 11. And I won't go through these, but just to make sure everybody knows that these are here. And if you want to know where we're at, what we're doing on that side of the business, you can see it here. One thing that's important is the maintainer team is going to appoint sort of a czar of recruiting new maintainers and finding, encouraging, and facilitating the contribution to the master branch. One very important thing everyone needs to know is that in order to vote for the Technical Steering Committee, you can't put money in, you can't buy votes. The only way you can get a vote is for the Technical Steering Committee, which will commence in September, is to be a committer. And that means, merging, even a spell check will do to master. That will involve you signing the ICLA with Oasis, and then you will be able to vote for our governance board. Any questions from there?
Just quick question, John. What are the issues with Gitbook?
Oh yes, thanks. Many. In fact, if you go to the YouTube towards the end, I think it's at minute 58 or something, or 28. You'll see more of an in-depth discussion with Jory on that. It's not working too well for us in terms of our workflow, and we will continue to hobble along with it until we, and Jory is now looking into Docusaurus and some other alternatives. Mainly it has to do with the fact that it kind of breaks out of our requirement that changes to docs go through approval process, which is implemented in our repo. And if you have access to the GitHub or the Gitbook IDE, then you can just hit the merge button and there's no approval process. You've made a change to the public documentation, which is fun for me. But
is this something that we've talked about to Gitbook about? Do they have something like an update on their release for this or no?
Yes, I discussed this in depth with them, and they have intentions to upgrade their system, but they did confirm that they don't have a way of fixing that right now. So that's the summary of that. All good? York, or any other thoughts on that, or I suspect you had a reason for bringing it up. Okay.
No, I just happened to see it. I was just curious.
Cool. All right. So celebrating momentum and recent announcement of growth metrics. Actually, I didn't, bad on me, I didn't compile all the growth metrics that I usually do this week. I should have done that. But I will say that we are now hit 600 actives. We have what now on the repo itself? We have I think we're at over here. 349 stars, 93 forks. And Kyle, would you like to say a few things about where we're going with this?
With Init Core, you mean?
Yeah, Init Core, where we're at with it, and what it's going to do to this participation rate.
Sure. Sorry, I was finishing a bite of a sandwich here.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. So
just for our newcomers, just give a quick overview of Init Core, just so folks know, how to contextualize your comments.
So Init Core is a branch. Sorry. Init Core is a branch that features the core, sort of the core protocol package initialization. It's currently about 103 commits, or 183 commits ahead of master. So it's a rather large PR. It's pull request number 174, and it basically stands up 6 different packages related to the protocol: an API package, contracts package, messaging package, persistence, privacy, and types packages. It sets up a new JSON RPC module for baseline, and it's a pretty big update. So we've been working.
So you can confirm this will be, the maintainers are meeting on this today for a couple hours, right? If anybody wants.
Yeah, we're gonna dig through it.
Yep. If any developers want to get involved with that, reach out to myself or Kyle, and we can, or any of the maintainers. And this will constitute, when we release it, which is targeted now for the week of the 9th of August. And never hold to this; it's open source. But that is our target week, or thereabouts. And when we release it, we will make a press release about it, and it will be v0.1, correct?
Yeah, it sounds about right. I just put a link to the GitHub project in chat that we worked on a bit over the weekend. I'm starting to try to, work on grooming the various issues and the agile, sort of the agile board, if you will, in GitHub, the GitHub project. So we, folks in the community can get a real-time look at where things stand. I think the big things that are sort of in progress still are the Alice and Bob reference implementation that lives under examples baseline app, or as of right now, it may be renamed something different. That's sort of the big thing that's on my plate for the week. And beyond that, also documentation related stuff. Really the call to, for help here would be around reviewing the PR. If you guys look in under core, under the core directory, you'll see the different packages. Getting that sort of reviewed is sort of the first step, and then that'll drive questions towards review of the new simplified reference implementation that is essentially Bob and Alice baselining. So I think that's a sort of a call for help there. If anyone can pitch in to review that PR, starting in the core directory and with the core packages, and then moving on to the baseline app a little bit later this week. That would be fantastic.
Well, thank you for that, Kyle, and especially for going perfectly by the format, which is, I mean, what we want to do on these calls is identify where people can help out, and that's, so thanks for bringing that up. Anything else you'd like to bring up on that?
No, I think that covers it pretty well. There's going to be, the work in progress bits of that PR now are relegated for the most part to the example app. So yeah, if anyone has any questions or just wants to get onto GitHub and dig into the review there, that would be, again, most appreciated. Thanks, John.
Right on. On the docs themselves, you'll notice that today we have, the community, pretty heavily detailed section on just how the community is organized and how to be involved. Community leaders, which, by the way, anybody can get. We're actually setting up hopefully in the next few months, an automated way for you to put yourself onto and off of these lists so that you can control that yourself. But right now, if you'd like to be on any of these lists, or as you if you become a maintainer or you get into become a contributor, you can get on these lists. But when you go down to Radish 34 itself, Radish 34, because that was our initial demo reference implementation, that really was featured in the original release in March and April. Baseline protocol now will flip, and Radish will become one of the examples and of multiple examples that you can grab the code base for, but the protocol will now lead. So that's a big change. So this is why we're calling it the V01, because it will be the first implementation of what would be a proper reference implementation, or a proper protocol where you're working with libraries and it's extensible. Excuse me, my voice is going. Any questions? I'll wait the traditional 7 seconds of uncomfortable silence. Usually I get somebody by the 6th second, but okay. Right, so that's where that is standing. So I'll go back to our agenda. So that's the big momentum is behind that, and several demos and other projects are flowing in behind that. Would anybody working on one of those, and Kyle, I know you're working on a couple, would like to comment on the projects that are going to be taking advantage of that init core release?
well, I can say that the Google Sheets and Microsoft Dynamics 365 demos that were built sort of out of the context of the repo initially, and then put in the repo, will be made functional within the repo as a result of this effort. Yeah, I know there's some others as well that are building on that pattern.
Terrific. Thank you for that. Anything else? Okay. We're going to go over to featured projects. So back up to ZenHub. Oops, probably should have done that this way. Use this one. So for those of you who are following along at home, we're going to go through the new epics. We're going to try to clean up the roadmap between now and the next SSC. As you can see, there's a couple of roadmap items that are starting to age, so we'll start working on those. This is a handy way of seeing sort of the top level, highlights of what's going on. We can report that security has met and that they are working now on security standards guidelines, and also that our specifications work has begun now and will go into full swing as the init core release hits. So when the init core release hits, the work on going from documentation to specification will begin in earnest. That's a big deal. Oasis is a very good open standards body, and there's reason to believe that this can become a pretty good standard. If anybody wonders why we are in a standards body and not just an open source organization, the reason is baseline protocol is a technique, but it's a technique that everybody needs to implement more or less the same way in order for it to work. So if you're using any kind of ERP system that wants to interop with any other ERP system via baselining technique, those systems need to be using the same standard. All right. So now let's go through the new items. Hopefully I haven't. There we go. Uh-oh. Demo gods there we are. So we have one new item here, which is was created by Jocelyn Feist, who I saw joined the, I don't know if Jocelyn is on. Are you on, Jocelyn? So anybody that's not on, we'll just go quickly through their item and let people know that this is on. And we'll work offline with them about moving this into in progress. But critic.io, security analysis, the baseline contracts. So Jocelyn did some security analysis of the work. Maintainer team, definitely something you want to look at. And then let's put that into the appropriate either backlog in progress or closed. Okay. And by the way, publicly, thank you, Jocelyn, for doing that work. That's fantastic. York, you've got the Azure SQL integration kit. This is somehow on the new epics list. But this, I think, you've been working this. Do you have anything that you want to say about it?
Yeah, I haven't been able to do any updates myself, but as I mentioned, some of my colleagues on the SQL team are interested. I just have to sort of get back to them. The last couple of weeks have been a little busy.
Yeah, I can imagine. And in fact, this would be a good one to show up after the init core release. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, that's a good goal.
Right, it buys you some time. Yeah. So, but this one's still a commitment. So, shall we put it in the backlog or?
Yeah. No, this is definitely interesting, and a direct product team interest. So it's good.
Okay. This one is one I put up. This is to close the work around corporate identity, but it's more general. Big book of baseline. So one of the things that this was, let's see if Jonathan is, no, I haven't, yeah, he hasn't accepted his invite yet, but this is from Hasera. They did a lot of work around Hyperledger, around registry of services, and so this was a project that he suggested, and I did contact him over the weekend, and they are still quite interested in doing it. So I will move that. I'm going to move that into backlog. But when I review the minutes of or when I review the tape of this later today, I'll note that we want to follow that up. Here's the Autodesk project that we heard a little bit about from Rodolphus. Would you like to say anything further here, Rodolphus?
Yes, but I need people. I need people that can help me. I am used to have rookie experience with this field, so I need people, developers, and more experienced with Autodesk software that can help me with this.
That's fantastic. And by the way, anybody in the community, we have 600 people in this community and more that show up. Anybody that's working with Autodesk, maybe go and whisper in their ear that they might want to get involved in this. That might be a pretty cool project for them that we could feature. I used to know a couple people at Autodesk, but I don't think I do now.
I can jump in, John. Hi, it's Stephen Smith again. Yeah, I know people at Autodesk, and they're involved in an organization here in the UK called the Construction Blockchain Consortium. Yeah, I'll get in contact with them, and through Rodolphus, I'll see if we can get anyone interested to work on the project. We've worked on one project related to Ethereum with them already as part of that consortium. They were very keen to get involved, so hopefully I'll be able to help you get connected there.
This is a good example of a generic problem, right? Which is maintaining the quality, particularly of engineering drawings, right? And ensuring that you know that you're using the right engineering drawings. Something that actually I think we've talked about in the blockchain space quite a bit. For example, 3D printer drawings that might be used by a ship at sea, for example, right, to reproduce a part. And if you can intercept the drawing, modify it, create something that is detrimental to the usage of that part, and not have the ship know it, then that's pretty, right, that's a bad situation, right? So, people in the past have talked about, using a hashed copy essentially of that, right, as a vehicle for authentication. But I think as a general model, that we should be thinking about this, and maybe using Autodesk as the template.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great idea. And it also reminds me that perhaps there's a notable project, and I was hoping I could find it just off the, with a hash, but it's in here. Perhaps somebody on the call can get me to it, but it's the Fraunhofer Unibright project on additive manufacturing, and that one might be quite interesting as related to this, for obvious reasons, right? So Christian Schmido and Stefan, excuse me, not COVID. Yeah, so I think we've got the Unibright team on. I'm looking for you here. Okay.
Actually, John, while you're looking, the real problem is not so much the transport of the prints to the ship or to the destination. It is that the destination is actually corrupted, and which is much easier to do than intercepting something that has 2 or 3 layers of encryption. It's a much more likely scenario that the drawings are actually replaced on site because the system already has been hacked. See Iran, for example. Current events that are right along those lines.
Yeah.
Right.
Thanks, Andreas. And by the way, that's Andreas Freund, everybody, the famous Andreas Freund.
There is a solution approach that's actually used by the U.S. military, which is utilizing trusted execution environments. So you have dark compute, and you have a fingerprint of the actual 3D printer when they're accessing it. So it's de facto a digital, a decentralized identity component. You have to authorize yourself and prove that you're you before you can access the prints in that secure enclave.
Thank you. Right on. So Rodolfo,
so just to that point, the solution needs to be better and more efficient than a TE approach.
That would be, by the way, York, instead of me adding that comment, it might be a great one for you to add there, so and you can be on the record there. People know you're a resource for those insights.
Yeah, sure.
You can do that.
Yeah, I'm in the GitHub algo right now.
Thanks. Right on. Okay, so just in the interest of time, this is our review show, right? Let me make a point that we made during the TSC meeting. It should be obvious, but each of these cards, each of these master epics, and I'm going to take you through a video that we just made to help set up projects. Each one is reliant upon offline. These meetings are summary meetings, of course, right? It's only an hour every 2 weeks. So really, the real work is with you all getting yourselves together and organized, and we're just the accountability layer, right? We're going to ask you what's going on, but there are now literally hundreds of projects that can't even keep track of everything that's going on. So the purpose of this meeting again is to provide some help with accountability and help with awareness so that people know what to jump on, and this is a great example of that. So I'm going to put this one into in progress, if that's okay. Sounds like it's in progress to me, and we'll move on. We won't, by the way, review new issues. As you can see, that's all in the baseline. Most of these are engineering tasks. That's how we manage epics and issues. So that's where these are. And in fact, I think some of these are engineering work. Yeah, that's an engineering that needs to go over here. And that one as well. Okay, so we've covered some of the new epics. I'll circle back with the critic one. Quite interesting. And as you can see, there's a ton of in-progress ones. And now that we've gotten to so many, I'm just going to ask the community here to raise your hands on any ones that you want to bring up that are in progress that you need to report out on. Over the weekend, I reached out to a number of you, so I'm pretty happy that a lot of these are moving forward pretty well.
Hey, John, there's a handful of ZK-related issues here, and including the Hyperledger Avalon integration, which isn't labeled explicitly as a ZK issue. We don't have an update this week. I anticipate Hadas will be present in our meeting in 2 weeks. I will not be attending that session, but I anticipate Hadas will have some time to present some update there.
Fantastic. That's Bill Gleim, everybody, from Consensus Health, which is not the same company as Consensus, by the way, just so you know. And they're just burning it up in the healthcare industry. Do you want to say anything about, by the way, this is Hyperledger Avalon integration. That's epic number 12 in the repo. And I'm sure you guys would love to have some help. I think Daniel Norkin and the Envision folks are chipping in, but also a number of other folks, right?
Yeah, we had a conversation with Kyle at Provide this week as well. And then there's also the issue 24, which is the ZK hardening. That is another subject matter that's more likely she'll be presenting on than this one.
Right. Fantastic. If anybody hasn't read some of Hadas Seilberger's writings on ZK, they are excellent and worth reading on Medium. Anything else, Bill? Anything going on in healthcare that you want to report out on in terms of baselining? I know that I keep on thinking about things like MetaLedger and how they do things, and it seems awfully baseline-y like. So I wonder if if that's a convergence point someday.
There's a couple things happening that I should probably talk to you offline, and then we'll see if this is the proper forum to distribute that knowledge more widely.
Right on. Yeah. That was my tip towards towards healthcare companies. I think there's a lot of opportunity for baselining in healthcare. Wouldn't you agree?
Yep.
All right. Very well. So I think we've achieved that. Those are the feature projects. No, current epics, new epics. Let me pause here, unless anybody would like to review any of their ongoing in progress projects. I know a lot of it is kind of like in the next couple of in the August timeframe. I expect that we're going to be quite busy with reviewing projects that are finishing. But are there any projects that would like to make sure people know about them, looking for help? Or are you all well and truly underway? I know there's the SAP integration kit, which is underway. The gas service, which is one of my team's projects, is underway. Brian, do you want to add anything about that?
No, not right now, thanks.
No worries. Yep. Okay. So we're closing that issue. And for that so on the feature project status, Kyle, did you need to mention anything more about Init Core, specifically around what people are going to, anybody who's on this call that's working on a project, and anybody on the SSC, typically you're either looking to join, to be an assignee on one of these projects as an accountable party, or you're already on one of these. So in that role, you're going to want to know when big things change. And the Init Core is a big change. So
yeah, I don't have anything really else to add other than if you are building something and you have questions, just reach out.
Right on. And probably people who want to be ahead of things will want to look into Init Core rather than master at this point, or main at this point.
Yeah.
Very well. Okay. Nick, are we getting any chats? I haven't been looking. Anything that I need to look at?
No, just mostly congratulating York on a new fiscal year.
Right on. Okay. Let me show you quickly something. Oops, that's not it. This is it. So we did a little video, and I will not play the video for you, but it's how to create a new baseline protocol project. And I'll copy the link, and it's not public yet, but I will make it public right after this meeting. And so let me put it in here. That should be the same link after we go public. But what you all should know is that we created a new template for setting up a new project. So just so everybody knows how this works, here we are in ZenHub. If you don't have ZenHub, get it. It's pretty easy to get. Log in with your GitHub ID. If you're not on the org register, the organization for Ethereum Oasis yet, contact me by DM or email or what have you. I'll make sure you get on it. And then you'll have access to being able to make edits to your epics. And you can create a new epic here by creating new issue and epic, and then template, baseline project template. And this will allow you to set up a new single master, what we call a master epic. And that master epic are the ones that we can show on the roadmap here, and that you can, and we will elaborate. And then you can start dividing it up into stories and tasks and that sort of thing. So I hope that's useful to everybody, and want to make sure that everybody on this call knows that that's there for them. Any questions? Right. Oh, hey, Jonathan, you're here. Say that. I don't know if you were on the call when I was mentioning that the epic that you were working on. But
yes, I'm around. Hello.
Terrific. So if anybody's interested in working on those projects with Jonathan, feel free to reach out to him. Okay. Any questions on how that works?
Or your YouTube video link doesn't work though.
It won't yet. Sorry. I need to publish it. I could probably just publish it, I suppose. Oh, I need to go into Studio and do it. So I'll do that after the meeting if you don't mind. And yeah, focus meetings, hacks, summits. Yes. So as we get towards the end of Knit Core, we've mentioned we've been discussing in other fora that we will start to have design. Like of course in the age of COVID, we'll do this virtually. We'll start to spin up some design, kind of like what Google does. In fact, Google inspired this, design sprints, where we start to look into how we're going to do, where we can create a place of focus and work together on designing the next stage of the protocol and other things. So we've been doing pretty well through the summer with our meeting structure and the events. And I think probably one of the most wildly successful things was our weekly office hours. I mean, they're just getting huge numbers of people, 1,000 people last week on those. So we're having fun, but as we get a Knit Core out, things are going to get serious. There are production projects going in, and there are customers with requirements. I mean, I'm hearing all sorts of things like, what are you doing with IoT? Who are the vendors that would be, that are IoT vendors that are baseline compatible or compliant? As people start to get serious about baselining, there's going to be a lot of client requests for all sorts of things, middleware, translators, things like Dell Boomi, things like that. So, and data sources like the ones that Chainlink and Google are providing. So that's something to think about. And we'll, if anybody would like to step up to lead the first hack session or summit, would love to get some help on that. Beyond that, I have no new regular business announcements to make other than the fact that, again, we are doing the TSC elections in September, and the only way you can vote is to have committed something to the master branch or the main branch. I'm hoping someday they'll be called. And also that we have the regular meetings which you already know about. So that I have no other regular business. Would anybody like to offer any issues? Questions, comments?
Hi, John. This is Andreas. I just put a note in the agenda. I've spoken with Kyle, and based on the discussion around core, I've started to look into upgrading the ZK framework and smart contracts to make the setup, so not have to require a setup for each work group. So using extensible setups as well as extensible circuits, which means you can create several proving circuits for multiple, or one proving circuit for multiple different business processes. That's based on the excellent work that MetaLabs has done with Plunk, which is a SNORC. And they actually have an open source project out that is actually already in production, which is actually for an Ethereum layer 2 scaling solution for tokens. But that can be used as a baseline as a baseline for an extension of baseline. baselining the baseline on ZKs and the smart contracts. So to integrate the Shield contract into that, creating, making it also a proxy setup so that things become upgradable, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of great work has been done. I'm currently sort of like mapping out what the architecture looks like on the ZK on the MetaLab side, because that is not well documented at all. So and then I'm going to work on making a proposal for what this should look like for baseline, and looking then obviously for people who review, help, and then also start coding this stuff up.
Fantastic. And Andreas, I'm sure you're well known to them. Are you working with Karthik Solapram and the EY team and the Socrates team and the Aztec team? All those guys are. Aztec is definitely involved with baseline.
Yeah, no, this is just a think about it as an alternative to if people don't want to use Aztec or Socrates, as it's just an additional
right, yeah,
module that you can
it fits into the privacy packaging.
Bill and Hadass showed some pretty interesting work around Plonk a few weeks ago, and Bill Gleim, who's on the call, I think still, and Hadass Faulberger did that. So that might be an interesting point. But regardless of whether it's Aztec or not, the ZK team I know is getting pretty well organized, and maybe you'd like to join up with them and see where they're going to do regular meetings. Let's see. We have Stephen Smith. I think we discussed this stuff. And yeah. Okay. Sambacha brought up this project. I don't know if Sam's on or not, but I've noticed that there's been strong intention to get for EDI, for the EDI projects to get underway, and I think that's been sort of waiting for init core. So it's, if you think about, if you look at our roadmap, that's as we improve the roadmap, we should start to see it resolve into pretty obvious phasing. Right here we have tools, specifications, POCs and demos, integrations, key features, and these sorts of things. And and specifically around the POCs and demos and integrations, EDI is in here somewhere, and it seems pretty obvious that one will start to be coming into its own as we get the first init core out. So folks that are interested in EDI, I think that one's going to start to cook up pretty quickly. Yeah. Okay. Anything left? I think we're getting almost within a couple minutes of the top of the hour, so we're almost done. Anybody like to talk about any new projects that they're thinking of that they'd like to bring to the attention? I know that probably Chainlink will be reaching out to folks around the Oracle's project with regard to open source, or with regard to the Google libraries. And I see that there is, oh yeah, we have, at least we had, oh, it's gone. Okay, so Avia, do you have anything you want to bring up for next time?
Sorry, my voice is kind of gone today, everyone, but next time, I think we're going to end up talking a bit about the upcoming videos that might be coming out, and also possibly a presentation of the slides that were put together for just generally baseline for enterprises. So all of that will be discussed next time. Sorry, my voice is completely gone.
Thanks, Avia. I'm sorry I put you on the spot there. I knew that your voice was bad too today. So with that, we'll close. I will say that there is, I think I've mentioned that Oracle will be interviewed at the Baseline show this week, an executive from Oracle. They'll be talking about their efforts in enterprise blockchain. And we have every Wednesday at noon, we have a slot open to be interviewed by Kyle Ellicott, one of the great moderators for out there. So if you would like to be interviewed, not necessarily just about baselining, but about what you're doing, relevant to business use of blockchain and ideally the mainnet, and even more ideally baselining. You can get that. It appears to be very well attended, could be good PR, or at least get people interested in what you're doing. So yeah, drop the invite for the Wednesday calls is, oh gosh, I'll have to, here, let me stop my share and I will go find that for you on my calendar. And that's it. Any last words?
Great to see everyone.
All right, I'll keep it live while I find that link, and I'll put that in for the record, but otherwise we're good to go. Thanks, everybody. See you in 2 weeks.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you, everyone. Cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Thank you, John. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye, guys. See you, Mark. See you, Thomas. Well, I'm going to stop the recording now and just log off.